Hello, I'm Reverend Rick, and it is my honor to be with you today. We really hope that this video is a blessing to you. And if it is, please consider making a donation. People watch our videos locally when they cannot necessarily come to church throughout the United States and the world. So please join us and click the link below and make a donation. Thank you, and let this be a blessing to you.
How great this church is. So many. Let's prepare ourselves. Put your hand over your eyes. I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today. And now open your ears. I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today. Now over your heart, extend out your arms. I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today. The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that listening as a spiritual practice, listening as a mindful practice, can open a door of oneness that we never even knew possible. But it's not the kind of listening that when you're in a conflict with somebody, you know how that is, and they're talking, but all you're hearing and seeing, you're not hearing anything, you're just seeing this, their mouth go up and down, because you're busy figuring out what you're going to say back to them. That's not the kind of listening that we're talking about. I'm doing a little talk today, and I've titled it, Me and My Big Mouth. And in fact, let's get in the mood with a little video that I have. Steve, will you start that video? We and our big mouths are often in a lot of trouble. You know, today I'm not talking about your husband's big mouth or your wife's big mouth or your teenager's big mouth or Donald Trump's big mouth or anybody's big mouth. I'm talking about your big mouth and my big mouth. You know, today I want to introduce a new spiritual practice to help us listen in a way that will help us really understand authentic oneness. And the spiritual practice is this. We want to learn how to be quick to listen and slow to speak. Quick to listen and slow to speak. So I'm going to ask you to do that little posture prayer with me. And you're thinking, what am I in third grade? I don't want to do any posture prayers. You know, in this church, we rarely ask you. We don't ask you to bow to the east. We don't ask you to make the sign of the cross. We don't ask you to sit on a little pillow and pretzel up. But every once in a while, it's good to have a posture prayer. So I'm going to ask you to just bear with me and do this. So the posture prayer is this. Quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. Quick to listen, slow to speak. One more time. Quick to listen, slow to speak. Why do we ask to do that? Because when we're in conflict, our body often responds even before our mind does. And so our fists get clenched, or we go like this and we shut down. When our body shuts down, what happens is our ears shut down, our mind shuts down, our hearing shuts, our hearts shut down when we're in that clenched space in that. The interesting thing about being in conflict is that the people you're in conflict with want exactly the same thing you want, which is to be understood, to be heard and to be understood. It's exactly what both groups want. See, we might be arguing about parenting decisions, or about decisions at work, or about what to major in, or about if he's right for me or she's right for me, or God knows in this political scene, I don't know about you, but I can get into an argument with my beautiful nephew who I love so much because he doesn't agree with me. And so we're not able to be quick to listen and slow to speak. We haven't been up until now. And so that's what we want to begin to do, because, well, you know, here's the thing. Even if we're not agreeing with any of those things, what we want to say to that person is, can you just hear me? And if you can hear me, don't interrupt. Or if you need to interrupt, go ahead and interrupt, but just give me a sign. Give me a grunt. Give me a hug. Give me a nod that you actually heard what it is I'm saying, and vice versa. So this idea of being quick to listen and slow to speak. We can actually do that under the dinner table at night. You know, when you're speaking and having a conflict with somebody in your family, quick to under the table, quick to listen, slow. At your desk at work, quick to listen, slow to speak. We can do all those things. Now look, we make spirituality way too hard. Way too hard. This is a simple reminder sermon. You all know this. This is common sense. But in this time of beginning to polarize ourselves as a nation because of beliefs, sometimes families are polarizing themselves. People on Facebook are saying terrible things to one another on Facebook because we're quick to listen, we're not quick to listen and slow to speak. But this can be a game changer. What could we accomplish? What could we accomplish if everybody on the planet made a commitment to be quick to listen and slow to speak? Now, if you grew up in the church, especially the Christian church, you may have heard of this concept before. I actually borrowed it from a guy I listen to sometimes called Andy Stanley, and he says he stole it from a famous guy named James, who had an even more famous brother named Jesus. Now James, we don't hear much about him until the second century, because he was the younger brother of Jesus. And can you imagine being the younger brother of a guy who says, I'm the son of God? And he's your brother, and you're saying, yeah, right. You're the son of Joseph. Mary probably didn't tell the other kids what was going on there. But he wasn't having any of it until he went to the crucifixion, and he stood with his mother at the crucifixion and watched Jesus be crucified. And then 3 days later, he was having breakfast with him on the beach. And that made an impression, as it would. As it would. And so he began to follow the teachings. He had followed Jesus, but not really, he wasn't even wrapped up in the teachings until that point. And then he became the head of the Church of Jerusalem after that point. And when he became the head of Jerusalem, he got this idea of how important it is for us relationally to be able to learn to be quick to listen and slow to speak. To be quick to listen and slow to speak at the right time. Now, James had been impacted by Jesus, and one of the things that church leaders did during that time in the first century is they often wrote letters to the people of their churches. And because he had become impacted by the teachings of Jesus, he wrote a salutation to this letter, which women in the church, I want you to listen to. Because during the first century, women were cattle. They were property. They had absolutely no right. There was no dignity given to the status of woman until Jesus came along. And part of his teaching was to elevate the dignity of all people. And one of the ways that James, called James the Just sometimes, James the Just wrote this letter, and he said, dear brothers and sisters. In other words, everyone. Dear brothers and sisters. Sisters, I recognize you. You are here as well. And I want you to hear this message as well. I want everyone and everyone to be quick to listen and slow to speak. Well, in some ways, when you hear that phrase, you think, well, how can I be quick to listen? I can listen at the speed I listen to. He was using those words together, be quick to listen, because it made you think. That's what great communicators do. They put words together that kind of make you think, stop and think. Quick to listen. How do I do quick to listen? And what he was saying to us is, for every time you open your mouth, make sure that you are listening first. And it's the first thing that you do. Quick to listen. The most important thing in the sequence, relationally, is be quick to listen and slow to speak. If you want to understand others and be understood, then be quick to listen and slow to speak. And I would add this: be quick to listen, be slow to speak, and become curious. Why is it the people who are saying what they say are saying what they say? Why is that? What's behind that? Begin to learn to ask questions. And you know, my first response to that wisdom is, well, I don't want to ask questions because they're already going on and on about something I don't agree with. They're already going down the rabbit hole. I don't want to encourage them. That's your spiritual practice. Spiritual practice of active, mindful listening takes time. So this week, make a commitment. This is your homework. Make a commitment. When you're talking to somebody and you don't absolutely agree with them, ask them 3 questions. Are they going to go down the rabbit hole? Yes. Are they going to take more of your time? Yes. But what will happen is you'll begin to see yourself in them. There will be some part of you, because you know a lot of what's going on politically is fear. People are afraid the world is changing. They're afraid they're going to get left out. It's BS, but they're afraid. And once we can begin to understand that and hear it and listen for it and become curious about it, one thing is going to happen. You're going to be less angry. See, becoming less angry is both a decision, but it's also a result. It's a result of learning how to listen quickly, speak slowly, and become curious. And when we can do those things, anger becomes much less involved in our lives. See? We need to begin to, especially parents, we need to, and grandparents, we need to learn this because we think we have the biggest wisdom bucket. We think we have the biggest experience bucket. We think we have the biggest insight bucket. And we think our kids, their frontal lobes aren't even developed yet. So we think that we have to tell them everything. And so we're on and on and on and telling them and sharing our wisdom, and they're not even in the room anymore because they've left and we're still talking. And we say, where did they go? Where they went is away from us. See, we need to know this. Parents need to know this. Wives need to know this. You know, because you can write. You can be right and write the people you love the most right out of the room. You can write your rock star employee right out of the room. How can you do that? Because even though you say, look, I'm giving wise counsel here, James the Just is saying this. Don't be a dope. You weren't listening. You weren't listening quickly and speaking slowly. You were just giving little proclamations. You were just giving little sermonettes. Nobody wants to hear that. See, here's his formula. His formula is this, simple. Learn to listen quickly, speak slowly, and you will become less angry in our life. Now, how hard is that? How hard is that? I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time getting angry at the political system. I mean, really crunched. Saying non-ministerial words. But if I can teach myself to listen, speak slowly, listen quickly, speak slowly, and be curious, I think I can begin to bring back some of the separating principles that are going on in this thing. See, oftentimes, especially in religious matters and political matters, we say, how could they be thinking that? What is wrong? What are they thinking when they say that? Well, here's a hint. The person who needs educating, whenever it comes out of your mouth, what are they thinking? And I probably do that 10 times a day. The person who needs educating is not them, it's me. I'm asking the question, what are they thinking? But I'm asking it rhetorically. Let's stop asking it rhetorically. Let's stop asking it negatively. Let's start asking it truthfully. What are they thinking? Why are they thinking that in their lives? I'm the one who needs education. So, if I can begin to hear the people that I love the most and become curious about what's making them sad or what's making them angry, see, then I can stop doing the little sermonettes. I can stop doing the little proclamations. I could just listen. Speak slowly and listen. Let's listen again to the prayer of St. Francis. This is the original prayer of the traditional prayer of St. Francis. And I'm just going to read the second stanza. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in the giving that we receive, it is the pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is the dying that we are born to eternal life. It's the dying of that idea that we are always right. Now, I'm not suggesting that you water down your values or not hold your values strong. I'm going to continue to do that, and I want to invite you to continue to do that. But let's stop separating each other so easily if we can just ask these questions. You know, we're blessed in this church. We're about to start our pledge drive in the coming month because somebody asked one of our board members, what funding do you get? What grants do you write? And the answer is none. We depend entirely on the gifts that you give us. And so we've said before, the average cost per chair per Sunday is somewhere around $35 per Sunday, per person. Now, you and I know not everybody has that. When I first started coming to a Science of Mind church, I didn't understand the principles of abundance. I didn't understand the principle of tithing. And if somebody had said I should give $35, I'd have been out the door and never returned. I don't want that to happen. Not everybody can do that. Some people are doing more because they're helping people who can't. But what we are asking you is to really go into your heart and see how close to that number you can come. One of the ways that we're trying to anchor this idea is to help people understand why we're here. What is it about CSA that gives us the idea that we should ask for your contributions? And part of that is we're asking people to come up and either tell their story, or I'm going to tell their story. Today I'm asking Jan Heenan Ferris to come up and to share some thoughts about why this church.
Good morning, CSA. Okay, I'm not going to start my timer yet. Reverend Georgia said I get 2 to 3 minutes, but I have cancer, stage 4 cancer, which is what I'm going to talk about today, so I think I should at least parlay that into 1 per minute. Here I go, 3 minutes. Okay, so I'm delighted also my husband is here today, and my sister and my beloved brother-in-law are with us from the East Coast. I want to share with you how Reverend Georgia and CSA got me through a really scary experience the first time that I had breast cancer back in 2016. Cancer liked me so much, as you will know, because I'm very likable, that it has decided to come back and settle into my bones, which is a problem for me, but that is not what we're going to talk about today. So when it came time to face my chemotherapy back in 2016, I was really freaked out. I don't like needles, I don't like things going into me, and most of all of my life, my signature physical trademark was my hair. So when I was younger, I didn't like it. When I got older, I loved it. Everybody loved it. Sometimes it would get a little unwieldy, and I would look like Cousin It. And if I had time, I would pull out my driver's license, and you would see. But I really loved it. And I know a lot of women who've been through breast cancer, and I don't know if there are any of you out there who have been through it. But the hair loss thing is really real. For many reasons. So I shared that with Reverend Georgia, and she had a really wonderful idea, which was to come in and we would do some sort of prayer, some sort of ritual service around my pending hair loss. And the chemo was so precise that they were able to tell me that X number of days after your first chemo session, the first chunk would fall out, and then it would, so it was actually like clockwork and really odd. So what we did, can you guys hear me okay? Okay, so what we did was there were 5 of us, our fabulous First Lady, who is a dear friend of mine, Reverend Georgia, a lovely member of this congregation, Chantel, who happens to be a hairdresser, and then another dear friend of mine. And Chantel, this was 2 years ago, and my memory is a little fuzzy, but Chantel cut a little lock of my hair, and Reverend Georgia led us through an amazing prayer, spiritual treatment, and the crux of it was, and thank goodness I have a journal because it all came back to me last night, but the crux of it was that it was time for a new chapter and a new story, and that obviously I'm so much more than my hair, right? I'm whole, perfect, and complete, regardless of what is going on. It was it was a spiritual shift for me, and spiritual, oh, I forgot, did I set my timer? Oh my God, I have 16 seconds left. Okay, it was a huge spiritual shift, and I just wanted to read a few things from my journal to show how far that lovely ceremony, which took place in the team room, how that helped me along to make peace with my breast cancer, and helps me even today as I face slightly worse circumstances, but great circumstances too, because I'm here today to see all of you. So do I just have a minute to read a few things from my journal? Okay, this was from August 8th, 2016, thoughts on losing my hair. I've had great hair, I am grateful. Not all people like their God-given hair. My hair is falling out because the medicine I'm taking is strong enough to kick cancers, but I am grateful. I am whole, perfect, and complete, inside and out, no matter what's happening at the top of my head. Besides, Ernest Holmes says we should always be, quote, open at the top. It will, right? It will be easier without my hair getting in the way. Couldn't play anywhere else. This is awesome. Okay, 2 more. Number 7, hats, scarves, retail therapy. I am grateful that we have the money to indulge. And then number 8, and this sticks with me today and is my saving grace, is that I am a resilient and plucky little ducky. I will get used to this quicker than I even know. It was the thing that my dad loved about me. It is the thing that my beloved husband loves about me. And I am really grateful. And it all got its little kickstart in the team room with a really fabulous ritual. And I just love CSA with all my heart, even more than this year.
That you know this is not just a Sunday church. We are with you through the happy times, through the sad times, through the hard times. We're with you every step of the way.